we'll start with the AFC North, the division I know all about as being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And at the minute, 6-6 Ravens are on top after a horrendous start to the season. 6-6 for the Steelers. The Bengals going 4-8, and the Browns 3-9 over the weekend. 36-7 loss. The Steelers had against the Buffalo Bills. There was a division matchup. The Cincinnati Bengals beating the Baltimore Ravens 32-14 on Thanksgiving. Also, happy Thanksgiving. We haven't said that. Hope everyone enjoyed it, whether it be in the UK or in America. And lastly, the San Francisco 49ers beating the Cleveland Browns 26-8. Now, I think it would have been stupid of most people to have wrote off the Ravens. You know, they were getting really bad injuries. Their defense was sort of reverting back to that bad defense that we complained about. I mean, at the end of last season, we said that their defense is going to be the one that unlocks what is a fantastic offense. And, you know, they were out Lamar for 1 week. You have injuries, but to write them off would have been incredibly stupid. And they've completely flipped now, and they've got to the top of the division. The Steelers, I mean, boy, it's rough.
Been having a fun time, have you?
I mean, as soon as Aaron broke his wrist,
yeah,
I was just like, well, this is season over. Even if he plays, you just can't play to the same ferocity. Not that there was that much ferocious playing in at all this year either. That is harsh though, because he has played well. You've got to agree with that.
I think he's been decent. I think he's been decent for you guys. And I mean, look, in the nicest possible way, it's not hard to be better than some of the quarterback play you've had over the last couple of years. But I think that he's done well, and he's shown he's, you know, the reason why he's a coveted veteran, isn't he, to have in your team. So it's it's a shame that although the Steelers in general have struggled a little bit, it's just a shame that it's happened at this time in the season for him.
Yeah. Well, let's maybe, you know, sort of focus a little bit on each team for a segment. I suppose we'll stick on Steelers for a minute. Go back to the Ravens. I started with the Ravens. I mean, with the Steelers, you say, oh, at this point in the season, it's always this point in the season. We did not end well. Quite consistently, we have not been ending the season well, and it's just more of the same. This is the pound the drum all off season and all this season for this. We're gonna go the same record, aren't we? We're gonna maybe this might be a losing record for once, but we're gonna go around 500 again. And we look at all the moves we made in the off season: DK, Jalen Ramsey, bringing in Aaron. What more is it going to be? Now, I know Tomlin's getting a lot of flack for this, and I think people are very much earmarking him that he may go New York next year, which I think's a very pie in the sky idea. But I think you got to put some of this on the front office as well. You think about the drafts we've had the last few years. I mean, every O-lineman has not really come up, apart from the center, Frazier. He's been pretty decent. The O-line, we've had to chop and change all the time. Our drafting's not been good there. Joey Porter's played subpar compared to the hype. Najee Harris didn't work. Jalen Warren was a steal, admittedly. Washington has now become something because they're using him in the right way. Nick Herbig is pretty okay. I quite like Nick Herbig, but he's not a Highsmith or a Watt. And the guys in the middle. I mean, Harmon this year has been in and out. Has not been consistent enough. Been decent, but not consistent enough. And I just don't know if the owners should be exactly on Mike Tomlin anymore. I've listened to something today, and it's sort of opened my eyes a little bit to, you know, this change at GM that we had a few years ago, and actually, you know, what's really happened with this team.
It is weird, isn't it? Because the whole narrative that we've had on the Steelers is, you know, you only bring in Aaron Rodgers if you think you're going for it. You know, that's kind of the logical reason behind it. And I know a lot of people felt that he had, you know, passed his best, and but he's still the sort of quarterback that can elevate a team. You can see that when he plays. So it feels a little bit like, oh, they're going all in. They've traded for DK Metcalf, which feels like a bit of an all in sort of trade. And, like you say, Jalen Ramsey, these sort of players, these are veteran players that you only bring in if you're they only come because they think that they've got a chance of winning something. But you haven't it's a weird one because it feels like they've gone all in, but they actually haven't, have they? Not at all when you actually look at it. They've traded away George Pickens, which is like, they got a pick back for that. But if you actually look, I just quickly had a look on Tankathon for next year's draft. You've got a first, second, third, fourth. This isn't a team that's gone all in. It's just this is a team that's kind of just got older and brought in players that you feel like is gonna all in, but in reality, it's not, and
Mm,
it just feels a little odd that they've done that, and it it's just not really doing anything. It's like dipping your toe in the water, isn't it, rather than
mm,
actually going for it, and it does feel a little bit like if if you never go for it, I think you're just always gonna be 9 and 8 or 8 and 9,
yeah,
but normally 9 and 8 when it
yeah.
comes to Tomlin. I think that's what you're dealing with, and I suppose when you think about it in that way, when you're saying about, a lot of people feel that it's Tomlin, it's time for him to move off.
Mm,
In reality, it just kind of feels like you've got a head coach there that's doing everything he can with what he's got. But in reality, has he actually got enough? Have you ever actually given him the
mm.
opportunity to really go for it?
Well, 17 years is long in any sport. Like,
Yeah.
it's long in any sport. That is in the era we're in now, that's so unheard of. So
Mm.
unheard of. And I think sometimes it is just natural just to break up with a team like that. And I don't know, maybe for the good of the franchise. I don't know. I think it's such a head scratcher. I mean, we'll talk about sort of where we're thinking they're going to end up in by the end of the season in a moment. But we will briefly go back to the Ravens. But I don't think we need to stick too long with the Ravens. We know what this team is. They're finding their way again. Lamar's great. He has his moments. I admit. I know they lost against the Bengals, but it's more. I would focus on that result of it's more a Bengals thing of this team's really, 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 really good with Joe Burrow. And if you don't have Joe Burrow, you're not very good. It's all good having T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but if you haven't got a quarterback that can throw to them, it's
Yeah.
pointless. I don't mind Chase Brown. I don't see Chase Brown as a big time running back. I think he's decent. I think he would do wonders in a dual system of a big physical guy and a small quicker guy. I don't think he's incredible. And their defense is really bad. But when sometimes it doesn't click like it didn't for the Ravens on Thanksgiving, you're going to get results like this. And the Ravens defense, though we said it has improved, it's got kinks to work out. They're missing some big guys. They're missing big guys, aren't they? They are. They're missing big guys.
Yeah, I think the issue with the Ravens, and this is what has always kind of been the problem for quite a long time, is that they're a run first team. On the
Mm,
offense, they are a run first team, and sometimes they just seem to give up on it so quickly. It's really weird. It's like, against that Bengals team, who the defense has been pretty poor all season, but it's so bizarre that you would have Derek Henry there, who's rushing and getting 5, 6 yards at the beginning, every carry. They go 7-3 up because of a Derek Henry run for like 25, 30 yards or something. And you just give up on that. He only had 10 carries in the whole game. It's like,
mm,
what are you doing? That makes no sense. Lamar, I'm not sure with Lamar. I think he's still injured. There's something not right there. He's not 100% clearly, and I think that was the problem. And they just found themselves behind. So I think that's the issue with the Ravens. That they do have some issues on defense, of course. I mean, what team doesn't have some injuries on
mm,
defense at the moment? But yeah, I think they just need to stick with their game plan. As for the Bengals, yeah, I agree. It's all Joe Burrow, isn't it? That's
mm,
that's what you're dealing with. I mean, you saw that with Flacco, there were times when they were putting up big numbers and were doing well, but there's only so much you're going to get from Flacco over a season, and he's limited because of that. And that's just how it is. So yeah, it's great having Chase and Higgins, but without Burrow, like you say, it does fall apart, and it's bizarre because we've reached the point of where we are with 5 weeks left to go, and although the Bengals are they're 4-8,
They're 4 and
and you've
8.
got and the Ravens and Steelers are both 6-6. It's like it's not out the question
Hmm.
that they could come through and
Yeah.
like they've got 5 games left. They could win all five.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that's ambitious to win all five. I mean,
Yeah, I agree, but
schedule
they
wise,
could.
they're at the Bills, they host the Ravens, they're at the Dolphins, they host the Cardinals and the Browns. Like I said, we'll talk maybe a bit more about the ending of that in a moment and talk about that the scheduling for all of them.
Yeah,
And then the Browns losing to the 49ers again, 26 points I mean, the 49ers were playing very well offensively. I truly, you get the quarterback right in Cleveland,
yeah,
this could be a team. This could be a really good team. Like, I hate to say that, but their defense is elite. Their defense is fantastic.
yeah,
And even though they had 26 points against them, it's because the offense doesn't do anything. Your defense is only as good as the amount of time they have, also the time to recover. If you're out there constantly because the offense can't move the ball down the field and can't gain points, that attrition is going to set in. That attrition is going to set in, and they are a quarterback away. They really are. I think they need some O linemen. I do think they need some O linemen, but they've
yeah.
got stud in Quinchon Judkins. I think Harold Fannin and Njoku, if Njoku sticks around, is a really good combination. I'm out on Judy. I'm not big on their other lad either, whose name is escaping me.
Tillman,
Cedric Tillman. That's the one.
Cedric
I'm not
Tillman. Yeah,
big on him. So yeah, they go out and get their quarterback. They could really do something. But the problem is we've seen good quarterbacks come and go from there when they're doing pretty successful. And like it sounds silly. Should you just kept Joe Flacco for a bit in
I don't
hindsight?
think it. I mean, I suppose it depends, kind of like what the theory is. I mean, when you draft two quarterbacks like they did last year, you have to give them opportunities to play.
Mm,
You can't just draft them and sit them and do nothing. Like when you're in that situation that they're in, I think it's very Cleveland is a bit of a rare situation where it's almost like if you're going to have a veteran quarterback like Flacco, and then you don't, and then you draft two other guys, there's no future in Flacco, is there? So it's almost like you have to give these other two an opportunity at some point. And I think that you're seeing. I think we've seen with Dylan Gabriel that it's not he's just not the starter. I think with Sanders, I think there's been in the short time he's been out there, I think we've seen more from him than what we have seen from Gabriel. That doesn't mean that I think he should be the starter for him, but I think it means that he has an opportunity. He has potential there to be there. Um, but at the same time, it's not like, oh, he like next year he's going to come in and it's all going to be rosy. They're not suddenly going to be great. So I think that's what the problem is. It's like they need with this defense as good as it is now, they need the guy now, which is
yeah.
kind of what the whole Deshaun Watson logic was. And of course, look what happened. So that they're still going to be paying that off next year. So that I just don't think it's going to happen for them because I think by the time they maybe get the guy or draft the guy, it's going to be too late on the defense.
Yeah, they've got key guys that are getting older.
Yeah,
So I just said the Bengals schedule, and then the Browns, they are hosting the Titans, at the Bears, hosting the Bills, hosting the Steelers, and at the Bengals. The Ravens are hosting the Steelers next week, at the Bengals, hosting the Patriots, at Green Bay, and then at the Steelers. And then Steelers are at the Ravens, as just stated, hosting Miami, at Detroit, at Cleveland, and then hosting Baltimore to end out the season. I I think when I've looked at that, I haven't got a team that has a winning record.
what over the 5 weeks?
Hmm. I've not got a team that has a winning record.
I I think the Bengals, they've got the Dolphins, the Cardinals, and the Browns. I think that they will probably win them 3. Ravens, they've just beaten at the Ravens. So you could argue there's that. I think the Bills might be tough, especially away. So I quite like the Bengals to be able to get to 8, 7 or 8. I think that's doable. The Browns, I don't think will do much really.
I've got the Browns going 5-12.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair enough. The Ravens, as you say, they've got to play the Steelers, Bengals, Patriots will be a tough one.
I
Packers,
think
obviously,
I've got them losing to the Patriots. I think.
yeah, I could see that. Away to the Packers, I think will be a tough one.
They lose that, to be honest.
Yeah, so I mean, I think with the Ravens, it could be very, very difficult for them to. They might get 2. I think they win one of the games against the Steelers. They probably go 1-1. Maybe they get something from one of the others, but it's tough. So I think that's really difficult. And then the Steelers, if they, like I say, they go 1-1 with the Ravens, so they get one there. The Steelers I mean, it depends if Aaron Rodgers is playing or not and what's happening with him. But you know, going against the Lions, I think will be difficult. Going against they should be beating the Dolphins at home.
I think that's the only one we win.
I think you get one of the games against the Ravens.
I don't know.
So you've got to me, I think you've got 2. So there's a lot of 8 and 9 teams around, and I can't feel confident on any of them. You know, that's the problem. Is it's incredibly difficult to think where it's going to go. I think we're probably going to have to wait like a week or 2 and see what happens. Obviously, the Steelers and Ravens are playing each other next week, so I think that'll be a huge game that will tell us a lot. And then, you know, the Bengals have got the Ravens in 2 weeks' time, so I think that might tell us what exactly we're dealing with here. But I mean,
Burrow back as well.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I think with Burrow back, you saw the difference against the Ravens, and I think that tells you quite a lot. And this is why I probably feel quite confident that they will win games. Problem is, obviously, they're 2 games behind, aren't they? The other 2, so that's where the issue is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
I've got the Ravens and the Bengals going 8 and 9.
Okay, when the Steelers
And then
7
I've got
and
the Steelers going 7 and 10, and the Browns going 5 and 12, which is crazy to think that there might not be a winning. Yeah, that sort of says that the division's bad, but Browns with no quarterback, Steelers have been poor, defense has been incredibly inconsistent. Bengals have been without Burrow for most of the season, and Lamar's not quite right this year in terms of injury and coming back from injury as well. So the variables are there. I mean, no one would have said at the start of the year that the AFC. I mean, a lot of people at the start of the year said the AFC North are going to have 3 teams go in, being the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Steelers.
Yeah,
and now
it's been a massive drop off this year.
Yeah, now there'll be 1, and because I don't think 8 and 9 at the second spot gets you in. It does not get you in the AFC, not at the moment. Not at the moment.
I think the Ravens are probably the team most likely to scrape over the line and get it. And get through. And the Bengals are going to be in the same situation that they have been in for the last few years, where it's just that thing where if you had just bothered to invest in a backup, then maybe you might have got a couple more wins. If they had bothered to invest in, say, like Mac Jones and had him sit behind Joe Burrow, that might have just got him a couple of wins during that time that Burrow was out injured. And you know, who knows?
Because I'm sorry to say, it's unpopular opinion. Burrow's injury prone. Like, you've got to say that now. He is an injury quarterback.
I mean,
he's consistently been injured.
Yeah, he has. I personally think it's because the O-line has been awful and they're just not protecting him enough. But he's getting hit so much that that's why he's getting the injury. So it does almost become a bit like he is injury prone because of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you're not going to invest in the O-line properly, you've got to invest in a backup because he will go down.